Hey, what is up, mortals? It is Trina here with a new video for you. Welcome to part 12 of What If Deku Was Given the Six Paths Power? I just wanted to greet you guys by just saying sit back and relax, you're in for a treat. So we begin. After a long ride on the bus, Class 1A met with the Wild Pussycats, and they were immediately thrown into a challenge. It was proposed that if they managed to get through the forest and get to the lodge in less than 3 hours, then they would be able to eat. Those that didn't meet expectations would starve for the day. The poor students didn't get to answer, though, as they were thrown into the forest by a massive earth wave created by Pixie Bob's quirk called Earth Flow. This quirk allowed her to freely manipulate the earth for various effects such as this one. This was going to be fun, she thought, as she saw them land down in the darkened wilderness. Once the students regained their footing, they came face to face with earth beasts created by her quirk as well. Without hesitation, Deku, Uraraka, Ida, Bakugo, and Todoroki took charge and destroyed the giant ones that blocked their path, allowing their classmates to proceed as well. This would surely take a while, they all knew this, and so the students continued destroying the constantly responding earth monsters. It was almost evening by the time they finally reached the lodge, and similar to what Aizawa had done prior, the Wild Pussycats had also lied about the penalty, as the point of this exercise was to test how the students would handle this situation. And even though they hadn't met their standards, they had still passed. The ones that took the lead earlier were also praised for it, and Pixie Bob wanted to take dibs on them, but thankfully Aizawa stopped her from going any further. As the conversation continued, a kid made his presence known. He had a big red cap, and his face showed apparent distaste for the wannabe heroes in front of him. Mandalay, leader of the Wild Pussycats, then introduced him as her nephew. His name was Kota. After hearing this, Izuku went to meet him, stretching his hand in a friendly manner toward the child. But Kota couldn't have cared less for this friendly motion as he tried to punch Izuku. But the green-haired boy blocked the strike with his leg. This caused Kota to flinch as a sudden impact had hurt. "Sorry about that, but such a foul move won't work on me," Deku told him as he lowered his leg. Mandalay took a moment to scold her nephew, and she made him apologize to Midoriya, which he did in a very angered manner. Kota hated this hero wannabe the most out of the entire group. A feast came next as the students filled their stomachs with delicate cuisines, and not long after this, they all went to the hot springs. A vast wooden wall separated the boys and girls. Both groups conversed peacefully as nobody in there was interested in peeking to see the opposite group. If they concentrated hard enough, they would have seen a cursed soul screaming in the background. Later, as the girls got dressed, Uraraka was approached by Aizawa. He wanted to check if she was alright. The other girls went on ahead as Uraraka remained in place to speak with him. "Did you drink your milk yet, kiddo?" he asked.
Yep, it was delicious. Did they have one of those expensive breads or something? Because I wouldn't mind more,
she replied, a bit louder than she realized. Aizawa patted her and motioned for her to lower her voice, and she covered her mouth and apologized. "No need to," he commented. "So, how was the training exercise?"
It was fun. A bit tiresome at some points, but it was a blast.
"I see. I'm glad,"
he thought to himself.
"But you didn't get hurt, right?"
Eraserhead then asked, proving that he was now in parent mode once more.
Nope, those earth beasts didn't stand a chance,
she exclaimed, but this was just the beginning.
I crushed it with my sledgehammer. Boom! Pulverized in the dirt. I also rode one of Izuku's orbs in the form of a flying board. It was so cool, and it even helped by moving on its own. I think I reformed my reprogrammable matter a few times too. Was it 2 times? 3? Never mind that. I made gauntlets like Deku's and also spiked encompassing strikes like Kamui Woods. And I can't forget my rocket boots. Melissa taught me how to form those. They're so good at dodge and to dash, but they tend to malfunction sometimes. Stinky technology bugs.
"What a day you had, huh? Such enthusiasm out of a few hours of what seemed like playtime to you. At least you're no longer down, and for that, I'm content. But that doesn't take away from what she forgot to mention."
Eraserhead once more kept this to himself. Just a mere thought.
"What about your scarf? Did you forget to use it again?"
he questioned, waiting for the obvious response.
I forgot that I had it in my backpack,
Uraraka responded, being a bit scared as her sensei's aura began to flare up.
"I see. So it seems that you're leaving the binding cloth style behind."
A menacing glare he gave as the girl in front of him trembled.
No, I swear that I'm not. I just forgot. I'm sorry for disappointing you, Sensei.
His ominous stare ceased, and he patted her once more just before one of his awkward grins surfaced once more.
Then you won't mind taking some extra lessons tomorrow alongside your quirk training, right?
Uraraka felt like crying right now. Aizawa's binding cloth training tended to be quite hard. There was going to be some quirk training on top of that. She was going to die for sure.
Okay, I'll be ready.
She said with teary eyes.
Don't stay till late either. I'll be waking the group at 5 a.m., and if you don't get up, I'll be forced to drag you out into the field.
He then added, as if he was trying to pour more lemon juice on this already gaping wound.
Understood.
Uraraka replied in a very defeated tone. This couldn't get worse, she thought.
Hey, no sulking, remember? You've been doing great. So much so that I believe that you're getting bigger already, kid.
Aizawa pointed out in the hopes of upping her spirits once more.
Really? So I'm going through a growth spurt again? Yes! I'll be big again in no time!
She shouted, loud enough for everyone nearby to be startled.
Shh, lower your voice. You're altering the piece.
Sorry.
Seconds later, she hugged Aizawa and told him to sleep well, and he wished her the same. And right after, little Uravity rushed to the girls' dorm to continue talking to her friends. Jiro and Momo were by themselves in a corner as usual. Every once in a while, a Matryoshka doll came out of her. Perhaps it was soft training, the young girl thought to herself. On the other hand, Ashido was gossiping with the rest of the girls like always. She truly was the spirit of the group. Uraraka smiled and went to meet them. Meanwhile, the boys' dorm, Izuku was still distracted by the message that his mentor had left him. It said that he was sorry for being late and that the procedure they had talked about would have to wait until he came back. He had become a bit nervous earlier in the day, knowing that he would get his mentor's quirk, but as this was left for later, his impatience started to grow. He wanted to get it over already, quite an understandable reaction after having been hyped about it for over a year now. And that wasn't all. The transfer had gotten delayed so many times that at this point, it felt like it wouldn't even happen.
What would having one for all feel like?
The green-haired boy wondered to himself as he stared at his phone screen. Soon the night took hold of him and he fell asleep without an answer to his sought-after questions. The second day at the lodge started strong. By 5:30 a.m., all of Class 1A were already outside and ready to begin their quirk training. Aizawa was happy to see them full of energy, even though a few looked as if they had been hit by a truck. But this didn't stop him from beginning the session. This one would make Class 1B envious for the rest of eternity, and quite sure of this, he was. Mere minutes later, Class 1B stood with their mouths gaping as they saw their rival class working ultra hard on their quirks. A true hellscape, they believed, as they continued staring in total awe. Even their homeroom teacher, Vlad King, was left speechless. Such a strict training regimen was beyond anything that he had put his class through. Later on the day, the training ended, and the students of Class 1A made their own food together. But as they enjoyed their curry, many shadows loomed over the forest of the summer lodge. Soon they would strike this place like a warning flare. By the evening of the third day, once the quirk training had concluded, Aizawa took all 4 remedial students away while the rest of the class stayed put to participate in the test of courage. In it, Class 1B would be taking turns scaring people, as in students from their rival class, while Class 1A would be sending pairs of students their way every 3 minutes. The objective was for the students in Class 1A to get a paper with their name on it located somewhere around the halfway mark on the route back to the starting point to win. The students of Class 1B had to prevent this from happening by scaring them away. Physical contact was prohibited, but anything else was fair game, even quirks. So the students took a chance to draw lots, and the test began. The first 4 pairs had been sent out by the time everything went into flames, both figuratively and very literally.
Now it begins. Fall to the Earth League of Villains. First strike team.
Mere moments later, the villains had already begun their assault. Some had already started combat, while some were ready to pounce on their unsuspecting victims. As the invasion in the flames became well known, Aizawa panicked and began to run towards the forest. But as he exited the place he was in, a man with deep burns all over encompassed him with a blue-flamed attack. As this was happening, Mandalay, knowing about Izuku's particular skill in identifying energies, asked the boy to please find her nephew and keep him safe, to which the boy agreed. Midoriya transformed and flew into the sky and stopped. He closed his eyes and tried to remember how Kota's energy felt, and that's when he realized how bad the current situation really was. So many different energy signatures, and worst of all, they were close to all the students. For an instant, Deku hesitated to act, but he decided to trust his fellow classmates and those of Class 1B to handle themselves for the time being. Right now, Kota was in need of help, and he would rescue him. An unknown energy spike suddenly appeared, and next to it, a small one focused for just a moment, but this moment allowed Deku to realize that the young kid was that energy signature.
I'm coming, Kota! Hold on!
This video is sponsored by Skillshare. With the services Skillshare provides, you can get access to many in-depth tutorial videos on basically anything you want to learn. Each class that they have is bound to help you with your creative endeavors. Do you want to learn how to make videos like this one? Do you want to learn how to write scripts or edit audio? Skillshare has you covered. And with our link, you can have a 14-day free trial. So what are you waiting for? Click the link now and get 14 days worth of classes free. Link in the description below. On the other side of the forest, Kendo and Tetsu were helping their classmates get to safety. A weird purple smoke had encompassed the area, so they were all retreating. Those still conscious had gas masks on, thanks to Yayarozu, who had created them the moment she felt the air change. They would get through this, even if unprepared. They wouldn't end like what had happened to their rival class at the USJ.
So that was all, eh? Just like your pathetic parents, your blood is the same. Quite boring, water boy. But now I'll be taking that cool hat of yours. You won't be needing it anymore.
The tall-hooded man said to the now broken boy beneath him.
Get away from him!
Screamed Izuku at the top of his lungs. A mere look at Kota had made him react this way.
Fire style! Contain majestic flame!
Out of Izuku's mouth, a concentrated flame blast shot forth. The tall-hooded man's muscles suddenly bulged at the sight of this attack, and a second later, they exploded into humongous muscle fibers that ripped the hood away. Now the blonde maniac was in full view. The man blocked the fire with ease, but Izuku's rage fueled him further. Midoriya then moved behind the blonde muscular man so quickly that it looked as if he had teleported, and what came next came without an ounce of hesitation. Such a monster shouldn't be allowed to exist on this earth.
Say to Six-Path Sword! Gale style! Circular Fang of Light!
Deku shouted as he spits a purple lightning beam in a circular shape toward his foe. The jutsu cut through the villain's muscles and then the limbs beneath them as if they had been made out of butter.
What the hell?
He exclaimed as he began to fall down the opposite way that his limbs were going. And indeed, he had fallen, now a mere torso with no limbs as they rolled away from him and fell down the mountain. The jutsu had cauterized the wounds perfectly, so no blood was coming out of him at the moment. Deku descended to the rocky floor and stared intensely at him.
I know who you are and the atrocities you committed. And that eye you lost was Dakota's parents, wasn't it? I don't think that you even deserve the one you still have left, especially after what you did to him. And that's why... Water style! Water bullet!
Izuku shouted as he shot the pressurized water towards the now downed foe. A blood-curdling scream came out of the villain as his world went utterly black. No more light would ever reach him. Izuku, though, ignored his pleas for mercy as he went to try and save the young kid from passing away. The villain had made him into a real mess. All his limbs were broken, a bone protruding out of his leg and all. Blood covered his face as well, some broken teeth adorning the bloodied floor beneath. Izuku concentrated as he began to pour his energy into Kota.
Come on, Izuku Midoriya! You have to save him! He's still a child with a long life ahead of him! And that cannot be snuffed out by such a vile human being! Hagoromo taught you how to do this. You have done this before, remember? You healed All Might back on that day. But this is different. I can't heal this. Yes, you can. Don't give up on another life. Never again. But what if I... No buts. Nobody else will die on your watch.
Deku internally fought himself as he began to try healing the kid. It took a considerable amount of energy, but Izuku was able to heal Kota to a more manageable state, one that he would be able to recover completely as if this had never happened. Still, the boy remained unconscious, and Midoriya grabbed him and took him towards Mandalay as he promised earlier, and on the way, he met Eraserhead. Izuku handed over Kota to his teacher, and as the green-haired boy was going to leave, Aizawa told him something.
Midoriya, I need you to tell her this. Members of Class A and B, I, professional hero Eraserhead, hereby authorize you all for combat.
Deku took these words with him, and less than a minute later, all students were telepathically told this, so they got ready to defend themselves against the villains. Shortly after this happened, Tetsu and Kendo came face to face with the one responsible for the toxic gas flowing around. They began to fight at the eye of the storm as a villain named Mustard began to shoot Tetsu with a revolver consecutively, enough to break the boy's mask and almost kill him. But Kendo stepped in and made Mustard back away for just a bit with her hand expansion. And right after, she began to swat the air away with her expended hands.
The real idiot is you, schoolboy! Holding a pistol like that? You're basically screaming that you have no confidence to fight!
Kendo shouted as her plan was working out. The toxic air had begun to thin away.
I'll show you who's got no confidence, you loudmouth bitch!
Muster cried out as he reloaded his weapon with the singular teal bullet he had been given. Tetsu came from behind and knocked him out, but not before he pulled the trigger, which released a special bullet towards the girl nearby. The needle of set bullet injected itself into Kendo, and instantly she collapsed on the ground, and her large hands returned to normal. What's happening to... But she was forced to stop momentarily as she began to contract within herself, similar to what Uraraka had gone through, but many times faster. A few seconds was all it took for her to regress those years, and now she had suffered the same fate Uravity had gone through less than a month prior. Just that she still hadn't realized it. Her mask lost its hold and slipped off her face entirely. To me, she concluded silently as she began to notice the changes.
You okay, Kendo? The guy shot your way, and I just wanted to make sure that...
But Tetsu stopped talking as he witnessed his now smaller and younger classmate.
Don't just stand there! We have to get moving! The others need our help!
The little Kendo commanded as she stood up, losing her shorts and underwear in the process, but thankfully her shirt was now long enough to preserve her modesty. She then kicked off her now useless shoes and grabbed the steel boy's hand.
You said it yourself, Tetsu. Let's give it our all! So we will! Whatever this is can wait for all I care! My classmates and friends come first, so let's get going!
Right!
Somewhere else in the forest, Uraraka and Tsuyu had come face to face with the blonde chick with the mask. She was so insane that she even told them her name, which was Toga, as if they were friends. Seeing the apparent insanity brewing here, Tsuyu protected Uraraka and got sliced by Toga's shiny blade. It wasn't just that as Tsuyu kept protecting and keeping Uraraka out of danger, so much so that she kept getting hurt. The blade was now at Froppy's neck, and at this point, Uravity had enough.
Get away from her, you creep!
Uraraka screamed as she swung her now-formed sight. The blonde dodged it, but Uraraka wasn't done yet.
Sledgehammer!
Their girl commanded, and her weapon obeyed, transforming to a sledgehammer that she then swung backward and hit Toga right at the side.
So adorable! Be my little sister, cutie!
Toga then said as she got up and launched herself against the little one. The knife was ready to slice and dice.
Small gauntlets!
Uraraka's sledgehammer reformed to small gauntlets, and she intercepted the blade and shattered it with a quick grab.
This is it! Just counter her into the floor and we'll capture her! But Gunhead's martial arts is still too much for me, and I'm not good enough with the binding cloth to subdue her. But...
The scarf that covered Uraraka's neck soon flowed as the girl used it against Toga. Both her teachers had taught her how to manage herself with hand-to-hand combat, and even if she wasn't ready to use them at their full capacity, she could still take bits from each to fit her new style.
Erasing God's binding cloth counter!
With a swift motion of the cloth accompanied by Toga's own weight going against it, Uraraka executed her newly created technique. It was a total success as Toga crashed against the ground and became incapacitated momentarily. Uraraka let out as she regained her breath.
That was cute, adored! But you'll need to do more to notch your older sister.
Toga announced before jumping away and towards Tsuyu. Uraraka had quickly tried to grab her, but she became paralyzed as she saw Toga pulling out a familiar gun, if not the same one from that day.
Tsuyu!
The now desperate girl screamed as she launched herself at the blonde maniac. The memories of the traumatic event had awakened something inside of her.
Whoa, what are you?
Toga exclaimed as the two girls collided, and the moment they fell, a shot was heard. Thank you all for indulging yourselves in all this information thus far. I hope you enjoyed it. Now there are a few more things that I'd like to go over before the video ends. Firstly, I'd like to thank our Patreons, BD Flames, Ethan Davis, Terry Chill, Shifter Melees, Adam Zagil, XAV Beat 03, Zill, and Joshua Phelps. Secondly, I also like to thank all of our YouTube members, Toya Costa, Rob the King, Sith Lord 906, CF236 Florin Knuckles, Remia Tempest, Angel Wars, Donald C. Stewart, Bryant Greer, and Refik 135. Thirdly, if you're in the mood for some great storytelling, We the Celestials has you covered. Our We the Celestials My Hero Academia and Naruto What If channels retell the story of their namesake anime with a twist. Check it out if you're interested. Fourthly, on behalf of We the Celestials, I'd like to thank everyone involved in today's excellent content production. Their details can be found in the description below. Lastly, if you're interested in what we do here at We the Celestials, I'd like to extend an invitation to join the team. The only caveat is that we only accept members from 16 years old to join our crew. You can sign up for whichever category fulfills your interest by joining the recruitment Discord using the link in the description below. We're always looking for members to join us. And if you want more content from me, check out my socials at Trina Duhart on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and more. Well, that's it from us for today's video. So thank you all for watching and have a great day!